Hey everyone, welcome to Syracuse University's Data Analytics poster presentation. Before we start, would like to shoot a question. Have you ever cancelled a hotel booking? Well, we as customers love the flexibility offered by hotels to cancel a booking at the last moment. But booking cancellations have a huge impact on the hospitality industry. It is estimated that between 25 to 30% of hotel bookings are cancelled. Wouldn't it be interesting to know whether the booking is going to get cancelled or not beforehand? Imagine the benefits and impact on hospitality industry. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Joyli Salunke. I'm a graduate student pursuing Masters in Applied Data Science at Syracuse University. With two of my classmates, I'm going to take you to an extensive walk through our project on hotel booking demand analysis and predicting cancellations. We as a group are going to explain the methodology used, outcomes, and insights derived from our analysis. How we did it. Most of the work was done on Google Colab, which helped three of us to work on the same notebook simultaneously. My job was to analyze the data, do exploratory data analysis, pre-process the data, tune logistic regression model, and poster making. Well, getting back to our question, can we predict hotel booking cancellations? Machine learning can redefine revenue management in hospitality industry. Selling the right room to the right customer at the right moment for the right price is a challenge in the hospitality industry. With last minute cancellations and no shows, there is loss of revenue since the capacity allocation for hotels is no longer optimal. The data we used for our analysis is about two hotels, a resort and a city hotel. The dataset consists of 32 variables describing the 190,390 observations. Each observation represents a hotel or resort booking. Both datasets comprehend bookings due to arrive between the 1st of July 2015 and the 31st of August 2017, including arrived and cancelled bookings. We outlined a project in the following way. We started off by doing descriptive analytics to further understand patterns, trends, and anomalies in the data. We worked on few business questions and tried to answer them by understanding and analyzing booking, cancellations, customer segmentation, customer satiation, seasonality in the data, and so on. We then went forward with the development of various prediction models to classify a hotel booking's likelihood to be cancelled. We then evaluated the performance of various models and selected best three models for tuning process. Univariate analysis basically tells us how data in each feature is distributed and also tells us about central tendencies like mean, median, and mode. Using pandas describe, we saw that the average cancellations are just 37.04%, where it deviates by 48%, which means there is lots of variations between cancellations. Regarding customers, we found that about 75% of people asked for one special request using the percentile. We grouped the data hotel type wise and found that mean values for adults and children are higher. This means that resort hotels are better choice for the large families. The world map on the poster shows country-wise distribution of the customers. About 28% of the customers' home country was Portugal. The pie plot on the poster shows distribution of customer type. As we can see, about 75.1% of the customers belong to transient type, meaning bookings that were not a part of group or contract. Out of 7 market segments, most of the bookings, about 47.3%, were done by online tour operators. Talking about customers in specific, it is really important to know whether they are loyal or not. The data tells us whether a customer is a repeated guest or not. This helped us to derive underlying patterns and highlight their behavior. As shown on the poster, bivariate analysis showed that most of the customers on average stayed for about 1 to 4 days. Of those, very few were repeated customers, the red marked ones. It seems that repeated guests do not find hotel resort promising. Management systems should focus on repeated guests as well. Also, a great number of repeated guests come in groups and have less lead time. Therefore, investment in repeated guests can really prove beneficial for the hotel. Also, customer type transient has the highest number of cancellations. It can be seen that more the number of days took as lead time, more cancellations were made. We can say that lead time should be less as customers tend to cancel bookings, which has more lead time. We also looked for seasonality trends and found that more number of bookings were made for the month of June, July, and August in the city hotel, and many more such observations. After going through the data, we noticed few data quality issues. We found that features such as company, agent, country, and children have some missing values. For the children variable, there were only 4 missing entries, and having missing entries can be same as having no child or 0 children altogether. Therefore, we replace 0 in place of missing entries. For agent variable, since for the direct bookings there are no agents required, missing values can be values corresponding to direct bookings. Since 13.68% of the data in agent column is missing values, values can be deleted or not taken into consideration as it can be important for prediction. Therefore, we substituted an ID called 000 for the prediction convenience. For company variable, as we observed, that 94.3% of the company column had missing values. Therefore, there are less values for the imputation process. The best option was to drop company column altogether. For country column, what we hypothesized that it is also common for hotels not to know the correct nationality of the customer until the moment of check-in. So if they have cancelled at the last moment, it is possible to have null values for those observations. We went ahead and checked this hypothesis, but found out that the number was very less, only 67 such observations. So apparently there was no relation between cancellations and null entries in the country variable. Therefore, we dropped missing values since it was just 0.4% of the whole feature. This was how we treated missing values. I would like to ask my classmate Akshay to continue with the presentation. Hey Akshay.
Hi everyone. My name is Akshay Bhala. My job included finding data quality issues, one-hot encoding, to remove outliers, feature importance, applying various classification-based models, tuning random forest to get best parameter, and developing Dash and deploying it. As my colleague very well explained about our data set and explained various visual plots, I will further carry on. Uh, there were outliers in our data set. Uh, the- uh, we found out that there were outliers in 4 columns. We plotted box plots for that. We removed outliers using interquartile range. After removing outliers, we performed one-hot encodings uh, for the categorical variables. Proceeding ahead, we started with to find a subset of relevant features to use in model construction, also called as feature importance. We use logistic regression and random forest for getting a subset of relevant features. Using logistic regression, we selected the column whose p-value were less than 0.05. And for random forest, as you can see the graph here, um, uh, we get to know the most important features, which were lead time, average daily return, deposit type, and agent. Uh, but as we cannot remove dummy variables, if we remove dummy variables in our model, it won't give accurate prediction as it's a binary classification problem. We applied various classification models, starting with base models such as naive Bayes, KNN, logistic regression, random forest, gradient boosting. As you can see in the below graph, among all the other algorithms, we selected the top 3, which were logistic regression with 75% accuracy, random forest with 80.97%, and gradient boosting with 76.65%. Moving ahead with these 3 models, we started tuning these 3 models to reduce false negative and increase accuracy and recall. Starting with logistic regression, as you can observe here, the hyperparameters of logistic regression are penalty and C. Penalty is used to specify the type of normalization, which is L1, L2, or none. The default value is L2, and C is a regularization parameter, is applying a penalty to increasing the magnitude of parameter values in order to reduce overfitting. As we can see, we grid search with many hyperparameters, but the top 3 hyperparameters were this. And as you can see from the step 1 to 3, how our accuracy has been increased to 75% with precision of 78 and recall of 67%. Uh, the next model which I did was random forest. A random forest is a meta estimator that fits a number of decision tree classifiers on various subsamples of the dataset and use averaging to improve the predictive accuracy and control overfitting. The hyperparameters of random forest are n underscore and estimators. It represents the number of trees in the forest. Usually, the higher the number of trees, the better to learn the data. However, adding a lot of trees can slow down the training process considerably. Max underscore depth represents the depth of each tree in forest. The deeper the tree, the more split it has, and it captures more information about the data. As depth increases, there is a chance of overfitting. Minimum sample split represents the minimum number of samples required to split an internal node. When we increase the parameter, each tree in the forest becomes more constrained as it has to consider more samples at each node. There is a chance of underfitting when we require all of the samples at each node. Minimum sample leaf is the minimum number of samples required to be at a leaf node. The parameter is similar to minimum sample split. However, this describes the minimum number of samples at the leaf, the base of the tree. Increasing this value can cause underfitting. Max features represent the number of features to consider when looking for the best split. As this value increases, there is a chance of overfitting. After tuning random forest, it runs with an accuracy of 81% with a precision of 80% and recall as 78%. As you can look here, we also did grid search with many combinations, and as you can see from step 1 to 3, the starting hyperparameter showed us the accuracy of 74%, and as we tuned the hyperparameters, we got an accuracy of 81% and precision of 80% and 78% as recall. Moving ahead, my colleague Raj will explain you about gradient boosting and many other things. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Raj Desai. So my role is I've done the poster, I've done the exploratory data analysis and feature importance. I've also worked on the tuning and developing of gradient boosting model, and I've worked along with Akshay in the Dash building app. So let's take a look at gradient boosting model. So as we see that gradient boosting is one of the best classifying models, but for our problem set, random forest was turned out to be more better. So gradient boosting builds an additive model in a forward stage-wise fashion. It allows for the optimization of arbitrary differential loss functions. Binary classification is a special case where only a single regression tree is induced. Learning rate. So there are 3 hyperparameters. One is learning rate, the other is number of estimators, and the other one more is penalty and max depth. So for gradient boosting model, learning rate shrinks the contribution of each tree when you increase the learning rate. Using a high learning rate results in overfitting. Number of estimators represents the number of trees in the forest. Usually, the higher the number of trees, the better to learn the data. Increasing the number of estimators may result in overfitting. Max depth. Max depth indicates that how depth the tree can be built. The deeper the tree, the more splits it has, and it captures more information about how the data model overfits for large depth values. After getting the best hyperparameters for gradient boosting classifier, the model performs with an accuracy of 76.5%, as you can see. And for the confusion matrix, there are like all the confusion matrix are listed in the poster, as we can see and zoom here. So and so these are the confusion matrix, the logistic regression confusion. So as we can see that for all the confusion matrix, the recall is very high and we have very low false negatives, which is a good thing. That is why we are getting a good accuracy. And so now I would like to conclude that the model which performed best for us for predicting these cancellations is random forest with 81% accuracy, with low false negatives and high recall compared to other models. It performed better than gradient boosting, which was very surprising. So the top features which we used to predict cancellation, as my colleague Akshay mentioned, are lead time, ADR, deposit type, and agent. And I would like to make the model recommends that the hotel should target more customers from all over the world other than just Europe. More focus should be given to repeated guests. That is my colleague Julie explained in the exploratory data analysis. So we can also use these models to predict dynamic pricing in future. So now let's move to the Dash app, which we have built. So as we can see, the Heroku app, which we have hosted on Heroku. So the by default option loaded over here is random forest, and we can see the parameters of random forest. And so as we change the parameters of random forest, we have trained this on a limited number of hyperparameters, since there were a lot of memory restrictions on Heroku. So we can see the classification report for random forest, and the accuracy we've achieved for these parameters is 74.61%. And also we can see the graph for random forest. Now I would like to change the model, and if we change it to logistic regression, we see that the parameters are changed. And so this is the logistic regression model which gets appended to the data. So it shows it over here. We've achieved an accuracy of 75.08%, and the TPR versus FPR curve looks like this. So now after we change it to gradient boosting, the parameters update, and we can change the parameters like before, and like try to work around with some thing. So these are the default, these are the results for gradient boosting model. And as we see that we have achieved an accuracy of 80.68%, and the graph of TPR versus FPR. So the model is still developing and we need to make it more interactive. So we are still working on it, but this is a basic draft how the model would look like. And I would like to thank Professor Yingling for this wonderful experience, for collaborating and working on this project. And thank you so much for watching this video.